Welcome to the EG Media Show, where we bring you weekly current events in the world of entertainment. We are the source for you to get your movie scoops, television series, and any other media we can gain insights to bring you. We thank you for taking the time to join us weekly, and we will always make sure to give you nothing but the best in the latest news. And now your host Mike, or as we like to call him, Mr. Review.
Hey, what's up, guys? Well, it's been another week. Can't believe, well, time flies. So, last week was our first show. Hope it went well. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This week we are opening our show today. Just going to talk about some general entertainment news. Yeah, and so, a lot of people have been giving the last season of Game of Thrones a little bit of a digging. They've been talking about how they've been thoroughly disappointed with what happened with the final writing. And apparently the actor himself has caught wind of it. So headline reads, Jon Snow apologizes for final season of Game of Thrones in viral deepfake video. So don't know if that was a spoof or more of a serious apology. So let's just kind of read it out here. It says in the video, Jon Snow, played by Kit Harington, references how a coffee cup was accidentally left on the table in front of Daenerys Targaryen, played by Emily Clark, in episode 4 of the final season, which was widely panned by fans. Another rumored edited mistake saw Jaime Lannister's formerly chopped off hand mysteriously grow back, but this was later debunked. But I guess he's in a new video somewhat being apologetic for the, writing that went on for the last season. Me personally, I haven't been following the show that much. I feel that it was kind of a Game of Thrones version, for TV. Kind of went away from the writing, the original writing that it was meant to have. But, most people enjoyed it, and that's fine. Another thing we want to get into here is the X-Men movie. We'll do that in a little bit. Just wanted to touch a little bit on what's going on here in the entertainment section. Yeah, and so X-Men Dark Phoenix writer-director Simon Kinberg takes blame for film's failure. So I guess I guess the movie didn't do too well. People were hoping that this was the last move from Fox to Marvel Entertainment. And they were hoping that this last film would kind of do a little bit better than the last films have done. Ever since Fox started the franchise, way back when, with the first X-Men movie, pretty much the highlight of those movies were Wolverine and the way Hugh Jackman played it, and Professor X, which was Jon Stewart, and I would say the third, shining light in those franchises was also Magneto. We enjoyed those three. Those were the three top characters that pretty much held the franchise. But other than that, there was no basic continuity. There was no development of the storyline to some end, like, for example, the way, Marvel Entertainment, the Marvel Cinematic Universe did it with the Infinity Gauntlet series, or the Infinity War series, if you want to call it. Yeah, so, me personally, I would have taken these great characters of the X-Men and, started out with, you have to have that ultimate bad guy, just like they kind of had with Thanos, and they kind of teased you with that character in the first Avengers. People were even asking, who's this purple guy at the end of the movie? They didn't even let you know who that was, and if you were, an avid comic book reader, which a lot of the people, I would say probably 50-50, maybe 60-40, of the audience doesn't even read any of these storylines. They just kind of enjoyed the movies. With Iron Man bringing them into the fold, people just fell in love with these storylines. But if you didn't read the comic books, you wouldn't have known who this guy was. Who was this guy at the end of the movie that turned around and smiled because, because one of his soldiers or foot soldiers said whoever fights the Avengers is courting death. Who would have known that, Thanos in the comic books was in love with death? Nobody knows that unless you read them. But, they showed him, gave you a teaser, and then they developed, 20 to 22 movies by the time they really introduced this, this ultimate, bad guy that all these characters had to fight. I mean, they did it like a real, comic book series. Whereas X-Men, the way Fox did it, they were all over the place. I mean, you didn't know which movie was which. So I think that's where they kind of fell, they fell apart. Hopefully the Marvel Entertainment can grab them now. They're back to the fold, and develop some good character development and a good storyline where we can get back into these these wonderful characters of the X-Men, because they were hands down, next to the Avengers. They were right there with the Avengers as far as my favorite, superhero group growing up. So that being said, hopefully they'll work something out with it, and they'll make something very entertainment for us. It's good to look forward to. I look forward to it. I really think they're going to come up with something meaningful. So flipping the subject to to our next main movie that's coming up, obviously Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home to me is going to be a very interesting movie. There's a lot going on there with the, after the snap and the multiverse going on. I feel it's going to be a very, very interesting movie. I've always enjoyed Mysterio. Mysterio was a character that really wasn't touched upon, in the last two franchises that were done by, by Sony, and Sony touched upon a lot of the great villains that Spider-Man did take on, but I always thought Mysterio would be very interesting. So I'm pretty happy about the choice of the villain that they picked. And what's pretty interesting about it is it's going to introduce, obviously, the multiverse and different aspects of that. Now, in the movie, near the opening scenes of the trailer, you see Nick Fury introducing Spider-Man to Mysterio, and talking about the multiverse. Now, we don't know if we don't know what's going on in this scene. Obviously, we're just pretty much speculating. But if that's the case, it opens up a whole new way of doing storylines, bringing in characters from other universes, other realities, and mixing them in with the continuity of the Marvel Universe. I for one, look forward to seeing these new storylines unfold. It's no secret that the last 21 to 22 movies of the Marvel Universe were written immensely entertaining for the viewer, especially if you are an ardent comic book fan. So, look forward to that. Hopefully, Spidey is going to be in a good situation to overcome this new bad guy, Mysterio. And who knows? Maybe they may do a twist and make him a sort of an anti-hero, someone who's misunderstood and just wants to be, loved by the multitudes. Maybe he just wants to be another superhero, to be liked. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Mysterio. I think that's going to be a very interesting outcome. So look forward to that. Coming up in July. So that's when the movie's going to be released. I believe, more specifically, it's going to be sometime in early July. July 5th, 2019. So we'll be looking for that. Look forward to it. And wow, looking at this time, we've already flown by. Last week I told you guys these shows that weren't anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. It looks like we may have to go longer. I obviously don't mind, but real briefly, I just want to touch upon in the television area, because I like to touch upon the movies, TV, comics. Like I said, we'll go the way the show seems to be flowing is it's going to go from general entertainment to movies, specifically comic books, comic book entertainment, superheroes, that sort of thing, to TV shows, comic books, comic book entertainment, and then briefly touch upon some comic book releases. Probably won't have any time to touch upon that this week, but just want to briefly go over, the Jessica Jones Season 3 obviously was released. We talked about that in the first show. It dropped this last week on Netflix, and this will be the last season for that show. So, obviously everybody knows what's going on with that. A lot of the content that Disney had on Netflix is going to be probably most likely moving over to Disney Channel, and Netflix just sort of released all these shows because most likely than not they probably weren't going to produce another season. So I'd be looking in the future, possibly, again, not guaranteed, but possibly a lot of these shows would wind up coming back on Disney, the Disney Channel, that they're going to be opening, and releasing soon. I believe this next coming year. The last subject matter I wanted to touch upon. I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm not a fan. I sort of got invested into the show because, again, I enjoyed the Marvel Universe storyline, but what they're doing with the show is it's just a snooze fest for me. I tried again this year to watch the first 2-3 seasons. What they were trying to do with Coulson, I guess they're trying to tap into the multiverse with what happened with the snap with Thanos, trying to tie it in. Every time they try to tie in something with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it just flops. It just doesn't connect very well. And I think I've pretty much given up on that show. Still going to try to watch it here and there, but it's just not doing it for me. And last but not least, some quick items. Swamp Thing, I guess the rumor down the mill is that Swamp Thing got canceled. It seemed like a decent show. The special effects looked pretty good, but I guess they couldn't work out any sort of contractual issues with the show. So that show got axed. But we'll see. Maybe they work it out and they decide to keep it for another couple of seasons. But I liked Swamp Thing. I think he's an interesting character. So hopefully they keep that going. But now, we're approaching about 12 minutes now. So I think we'll wrap it up for this week. I enjoyed talking about these subject matters immensely. Like I said, we're going to have a very good weekly show. Please keep coming in, and we do these content and these shows for you guys. So the more viewers we get, the more we'll produce. And once again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification. So anytime we get these shows and these contents and these videos, you'll be notified and you'll hear it first thing here. So take care.